Welcome back. It's your lousy Florida gardener. Just thought we'd do a quick walkthrough. Not a full walkthrough, but I'll show you some of the stuff. It's been about 2 months since we did the February walkthrough where I showed you how dead everything was. So I just thought we'd hit a couple little major points right there, give you something to look at and see what it's done over the last couple months. We're still having cool nights here in North Florida zone 8B, but it's getting warmer, so everything's fixing to really start turning on. So let's walk over here and take a look. Now let me go ahead and tell you on this walkthrough, I have not done no weed control yet. I've been a little behind. I got to do a bug control. You may see a few bugs as we walk. I have put out fertilizer. Remember, that was dead in the pot, wasn't nothing left. I didn't replant anything, that's what come back. This little patch here, that rose has never put on a rose before this year. It just sit there idly and dormant. I finally got some irrigation on this side of the yard other than sprinklers. I think that's what's helped. Same with this plant, I forget what that's called. Damn, it's a common plant. Anyhow, it's never really done nothing until this year. Now this is actually a cutting that come off of this. You may remember that last year's video. It was sitting up on that stand. We accidentally left it out and frost killed it, but it is coming back. So we'd give this cutting away. The lady we give it to was nice enough when she thought ours was dead, because we thought it was dead, that she gave it back. So we'll have to make sure we get her a bunch of cutting. These are some elephant ears that my wife got a couple years ago. You may remember these last year. They didn't really get a chance to do much last year. This is about the size they got. But now in saying that, we'd had them planted over in a dark corner, and I transplanted them about halfway through the year, so they never really got a chance. Bridal Wreath, it had quite a bit more on it. It still got some blooming to do. Same way on it, it had a few flowers, but nothing like it had 2 weeks ago. Bridal Wreath is a small flower in itself in them clusters. But when you really break it down and look at it, it is a beautiful flower. That Purple Heart is very vigorous. It always comes back. So I got to do some weed control there. The lantana, I cut back. It's coming back. Purple Heart around this tree, coming back. Now this spider plant, I don't know if I mentioned it in the last video, started out just one plant. All these little pups that you see is where it reached out and they dropped and hit the ground. So that ought to come up and mix in with that. That ought to really be some pretty color. We're gonna skip over some parts today. Just want to show you the highlights and stuff that's coming out. Daylilies are really starting to come on. You can see in this bed, I didn't get a chance yet to trim back none of the stuff from last year. This is the first year it's killed my snake plants, but I think they're gonna come back. You can see there's a lot of green there. African iris, we originally had 2 clumps of these. One got so big that we had to move it. Let me get you zoomed in. And it's never recovered the other ones. And got several blooms getting ready to come out. A couple gladiolus. That's one cactus. That's another cactus. Japanese magnolia. On its 4th year here, has not done well until this year. It's now jumping out. It's already had a couple early blooms. You can see it's getting ready to again. Aloe, have to separate them this year. Now this particular aloe blooms probably 3 or 4 times a year, flowers. Mexican petunia, they never get a chance. The deer just keep them mowed down. That's a loquat tree. Has yet to put on a loquat, and that tree's probably 16, 18 foot tall. Beautiful tree, but yet to put on a loquat. I think maybe I'm loving it too much because I pour the fertilizer to it every year, so I've decided I'm gonna cut the fertilizer off to them. See what happens. That elephant ear, that's one of my espositos. It ain't come back yet. Now this rose bush was probably one of the first plants we planted here. Guy I worked with, give it to my wife. It's never put on a flower. It's looked beautiful every year. I've had to cut it back, and I can literally cut 3 wheelbarrows full off of it every time I cut it every year. This year, it has put on the roses. I believe the reason why this side's doing so much better is I put in the irrigation underground. The other side I'm still doing with sprinklers. This side didn't do that good with sprinklers, but that irrigation puts out more water. So I definitely recommend your underground irrigation, even if you don't put the timers and all with it and you just use valves. That's where it's at. You can put out more water in 10 minutes with them than you can sprinklers with twice as many sprinklers in 2 hours. Let's get over here to the bamboo. No way, we're getting ahead of ourselves. That's the trellis we built. Jasmine's doing well on it. I think I built it about halfway through last year. That elephant ear's coming back nice. In the last video, it had no leaves. Now last year, you may have noticed these 2 beds, if you remember, were completely full of elephant ears. This year, I come back and dug up the middle bunch and transplanted them out by the road. That's the video on planting elephant ears we did. I replaced it with a camellia. I'm gonna do the same thing in the other bed. Elephant ears just starting to come back. And that Tacolia's coming up. As an interesting note, I don't know if they'll do anything, but I had about 6 different types of ornamental peppers last year. I spread all them seeds in these 2 beds. Now whether they'll come back or not, I don't know. Now this one, we still got all 3 clumps of elephant ears, but I'm eventually gonna move this center clump to another bed and we're gonna plant this camellia here. That's the type of heads that I'm talking about. They pop up when you turn it on and they pop down when you turn them off. We buy them at most hardware stores. Got some stuff we hadn't got around to planting yet. Some more Confederate jasmine. That's a century plant. I cut pups off it last year. Now, you may have seen the bamboo video I did. We're gonna work our way around to that. I wanna show you that. These are them bamboo shoots that were coming up. Now some of them just died. Not really sure why they did, but some of them are coming on up. And you can see they're starting to leaf out and limb out. That's a new one there. But then over here you see some of them just died. Not really sure why. The ones out back, they're coming on up and doing good. So anyhow, I think I said it was 3 years old, but it's actually 2 years old. It's coming back. Along with the Hawaiian tie. It killed the biggest stalk, but it is coming back. My philodendrons it killed, they're slow, but they're coming. I think if these nights will get on warm. This is the big one you'll remember from the video last summer. It was monstrous. Covered that whole area. It's coming back, but it's slow. First year the frost killed it. Now so far over here, I haven't seen where the ginger or pinecone lily is coming back. But now last year it was way late coming back too. The Confederate jasmine is really doing good. I wish you could smell on here. It smells good right now. I was kind of scared to run that up limbs to begin with. I'd seen in the woods where other vines had pulled stuff down. But after looking at other people's and then looking at this and then looking at other people's, it was done the same way. It was not pulling down limbs or smothering trees. It growed and coexisted. One of them had been on one for over 30 years. And the tree was still flourishing and healthy with no problems, so I decided to go ahead. So what I'm hoping for is that that'll all grow together and become one mesh. Anyhow, that's the split leaf. I think on the pot it actually said Zandu, Exandu. I hadn't noticed that in the center. I guess that must be a bloom of some sort. I don't know. I'll have to ask around about that. We'll see if the other one's got it. Anyhow, look at all that white and that jasmine. That's beautiful. The ornamental grass I planted right here has done real well. I've actually cut it down last year with a weed eater, what I should have done this year. That rose there hadn't flowered yet. This is its last year. If it don't do what it's supposed to here, I'm gonna cut it back, root the cuttings, and dig the plant up and move it. I think it may not be getting enough sun. That's one of our Esposito elephant ears. You can see it is multiplying like crazy. So we'll have to separate it again next year. I packed up and missed probably my most prized elephant ear as far as characteristics. I pointed this out to you before. I'm gonna point it out again in probably every video because I'm just so fascinated with it. When we bought this elephant ear in this pot, it was one plant. That's what we planted. Now you see it's come up two. Now if you look, that one has split. That's one trunk that comes out of the ground and splits into two plants. If you look, that one does the same thing and splits into two separate plants at the top. But if you look at this separate one, it's starting to split again. So I got to figure out what those are because that's going to be pretty interesting. And the other one over here, now this one I hadn't had any other babies off of yet, but this other one we looked at right before that and we're going to walk back to. These two were both bought at Espositos on the same day, both in the same kind of pot, and both labeled the same, and the leaves look the same. This one is never split. This one puts babies on all the way around it every year. The other one has never put on a baby. So I don't know. The leaves look the same shape, same sheen. There's one of them crickets I got to spray for, or grasshopper, I mean. Of some sort, anyhow. So I don't know. Like I say it looks the same in every characteristic. The only difference in the two is this one puts on pups, the other one never has. The other one is split into multiple branches. This one or any of them I've transplanted off of it never have. So I don't know. That's kind of strange. And some of the pups off of it are in shade, some are in sun, so it's not like you're not getting a valuable deal. Anyhow, sagos are doing good. You may have seen the video where I cut them back about a month or two ago. Man, I wish you could smell this jasmine. They're coming on back good. These cool nights are fixing to go away. Everything's gonna really crank up and do good. You're gonna see stuff coming on. A lot of people already are that have time to baby it, but just remember, I don't have time to baby. My gardening channel ain't about babying a garden. It's about basic growing and getting it going. Now this bed, if you didn't watch that video last year, I'm gonna give you a reference point. You go back and look at that video and reference them trees and then that bed of elephant ears. They were taller than I was. I planted one elephant ear here at the beginning of the season last year, and there are probably 10 or 12 that come up. I've left the biggest 3. Well, 4 actually. See what it does this year. You can see the jasmine on this end is not as thick. The deer have just murdered this all 4 years it's been here. I'm actually just amazed that it's even still trying down here. In some places it has finally give up this year. We'll look at that when we get on down there. This tree right here, I believe is called a Today, Tomorrow, Forever. This is a prime example of patience. Now the flowers are about gone now, but this has just been a stub the last 2 years. The only reason it was still there is I just ain't had time to put nothing else there. And this year when I was gonna finally dig it up, the wife stopped me because it had green leaves. Now, it's at the end of its bloom right now. I believe it will put on some more flowers, but it was pretty about 2 weeks ago. This elephant ear bed really done good this past year. Again, one of them spots I planted one. Now I hadn't separated any of these, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 just glancing. These are Crepe Myrtles. These are Crepe Myrtle trees with the yellow tags. My granddaughter wanted to plant some trees, so I bought 3 of these. She's 5 years old, maybe 6. I didn't really think she'd make it through any of them. She actually dug the holes just like I told her. I picked up the manure, poured it in the wheelbarrow. She mixed it and refilled the holes. She did 3 of the 4 by herself. I was pretty impressed with that. Now this palm here, let's just pause right here because mosquitoes is biting. We may not get to finish this tour. Has really flourished. It's done better than any other one. That's been here for 2 years. Going on its 3rd, I think. This is the bed I did the elephant ear video on. I moved these so I could plant a different tree. And so I put them out here by the road. They're planted a foot apart in rows 2 foot wide, 3 rows wide. And then I also put some around that tree, so they're coming on. If they do what they did in the beds they was in, all you should see in that whole section around that tree is elephant ears. And mosquitoes eating you too. Oleander, another oleander. I'm gonna show you one more thing, then I got to go in. These bugs about to eat me alive. This is a cactus. We didn't even plant that, it just come up. My wife put rocks around it, wouldn't let me mow it. I hadn't really done the research yet to see what it is. I figure it's just some Florida native cactus, but I'm trying to hold it still. Anyhow, glad we didn't mow that. That's some lilies. I forget what kind they're called, but they're fixing to be putting on if the deer don't nip them off. It's my biggest foe in the garden. Insects I can control. Deer, no matter how many you shoot, they just keep coming. So anyhow, you get the idea. We're not gonna make the full tour because mosquitoes is eating me up. But the idea is to show you that it's fixing to start warming up at night. Things is fixing to really go to growing. I just put out some fertilizer. I expect to see mine growing. I've been putting a little water to it. Been real lucky here. Mother Nature been giving us a lot of water, so I ain't had to put much to it. I appreciate y'all joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.